It's the money. It's the money. Too much of tax-free money. I would never say legalize it, it will cause more problems. Decriminalize it. The man know, they get hold with weed, no matter how much, it come like going and pay a parking ticket or some kind of thing. Versus lingering in the court system for all kind of 6 years and thing, you're going to court for a ganja case. That ain't making sense.
But you think there's certain people who benefit from this thing, the way it is?
Yeah.
Now you say people, you think it's people in upper levels of society?
Well, probably the man who up there, he had the US to bring it. Cause look the other day, on the tape, a man getting 9 months for a gun. I get 4 years for weed already.
It's days, months, and years that you can never get back. There are still hundreds, if not thousands, of young men and women who have served and are serving time for marijuana sentences, as well as those with ongoing court cases. Who benefits from this? Under Chapter 1125 of the Dangerous Drug Act of Trinidad and Tobago, any person found to have marijuana in his or her possession is guilty of an offense and is liable on summary conviction to a fine of $25,000 and to imprisonment for 5 years. Upon conviction on indictment, such individual is liable to a fine of $50,000 and to imprisonment for a term of more than 5 but no more than 10 years. Any person caught in possession of more than 1 kilogram of marijuana is liable to a charge of trafficking. Upon conviction on indictment, the fine is $100,000, or where there is evidence of the street value of the drug, it will be 3 times the street value, whichever amount is greater, plus imprisonment for a term of 25 years to life. Here to discuss some of the legal and judicial aspects of marijuana is lawyer and law professor Rosemary Bell Antwine. Professor Bell Antwine, who has more awards and titles than Sir Alex Ferguson, is the Dean of UWI's Faculty of Law. His specialist areas are, among others, labor law, anti-discrimination law, human rights, and public service law. Besides that, the Oxford and Cambridge law graduate also happens to be the chair of CARICOM's Marijuana Commission.
Well, I would say the trend internationally is towards either decriminalization of marijuana or legalization of marijuana. Very few countries have gone the whole hog, like Uruguay, for example. They have been very liberal and they have gone that way. Canada also quite liberal in the sense of decriminalizing. I'm sure all of us know from watching the news that several states in the United States have gone that way, which unfortunately is perhaps the catalyst for us, because we tend to always do things when we get permission to do it from out there, even though many people for many years have been saying we should decriminalize. The Rastafarians, for example, they've even gone to the courts to try to challenge it. But now that it's become quote-unquote acceptable internationally, we're going along that road. But there is a bit of a paradox, certainly a conflict, that although that is the trend towards decriminalization, toward legalization, we still have United Nations treaties and conventions which treat marijuana as a drug, a narcotic. Yeah, and that seems to be very difficult to change. So, for instance, Jamaica, although they've gone and decriminalized and for certain amounts, like you can grow up to 5 plants, you're allowed at home to grow 5 plants of marijuana in your home, ganja, they call it in Jamaica. It's difficult for the government to go the full way because of these international treaties which still treat marijuana in that way. And there's a suspicion that the reason that there's some resistance to change it is because of the commercial issues, so that some countries prefer to keep countries like, say, those in the region, keep them kind of afraid to liberalize completely, because then you'll have more competition. So it's a very complicated matter in terms of the international arena. From the reports we've heard so far, it has not, contrary to some fears, it has not resulted in people going down the road and sort of using it more. I think initially there's always a curiosity factor, but ultimately, people who want to use it kind of use it because they probably are now anyway. So we have not seen this huge influx of persons now wanting to go and smoke marijuana every day, as the case may be. And you probably don't, you're probably too young, but there was a time in our lifetimes when alcohol was a prohibited substance, just like marijuana. So many people use that as an analogy. Some people think it's not a perfect analogy because there are some side effects of marijuana which are not present in alcohol, but they are quite similar. And so it's the same kind of thing. So once you decriminalize it, once you don't, because we've been, I was going to say brainwashed, but perhaps that's not the best word. But we are conditioned into thinking of it as something terrible and horrible and, ooh, criminal. But once you take that label away, you look at it in a different way. So nobody, I think, or very few people, are advocating that you have a complete liberalized regime. So for example, one of the things we know is that there are, because on my commission, I have medical scientists, I have different persons on the commission, 12-member commission. We know for a fact, for example, if you use marijuana as a young child, you can have a permanent negative effect. That has been studied. All right, so it's just like in alcohol, you don't give children alcohol. So nobody is saying, do what you want, free reign. There will have to be some controls. You shouldn't be able to drive, as the case may be, if you're under. But generally the trend, we accept that it's not as this harmful substance that many people think it is.
Having heard about this CARICOM Marijuana Commission, I wanted to learn more about it. What is its purpose and how much work has already been done?
It's a mixture of legal experts or jurists, medical persons, scientists, a couple of sociologists, and represented from the youth from all over the region. And our task really is to inquire into whether it is a good move for the Caribbean to decriminalize marijuana. So we would look at all aspects of it and write a report for the heads of government to discuss. So one of the main things that we need to do is to have consultations with persons in the region. So we go around this consult, we gather information. So yes, there's that element of research, but all of us will have expertise in various areas. Like me, I'm a lawyer, I'm law reform, I've worked on drug control issues in the past. Then the medical researchers, we have somebody from Mona campus that's her area. She's researching the plant itself and the medical properties and the harm, so various aspects of it. And so we will present a report to the CARICOM heads of government with a view towards law reform. If we feel at the end of the day that yes, we should change the law and that it should not be the way it is today, it should be decriminalized. That is what we would recommend. But at the end of the day, it's up to the heads of government.
And have they given a timeline or a due date for this?
Right.
report?
And the problem has been, as I mentioned, and I think some people are upset with us because it does seem that we're taking a long time, but it's actually not that. It's because, as you might appreciate, having consultations all of the region is an expensive business. And unfortunately, which is probably not so untypical of CARICOM, it's not fully funded. I think we're getting there, but that has been part of the problem. So we did a consultation in June in St. Vincent, but we are hoping we are ready. The members of the commission are ready to go all over the region, but we don't control that part of it.
Okay then. I was also interested in hearing about the contribution or lack thereof of our own government in this process.
Well, the commission started before this new administration, so I don't think, and of course it was unanimously approved by all heads of government just before this new administration. I don't think there's any, I don't think they're against it in any way, but I would guess that it has not been a big priority for the new government, considering that when they came into office we had oil prices plunging and things like that. So it has not been a big priority, and so that's as much as I can say.